Today I'm going to talk about the few books that I'm currently reading. There are a couple that I'm actively reading, a couple that I'm kind of on hold, and then a few I'm thinking of maybe abandoning. I'm not sure yet. So I just want to share my thoughts on these books. The main point of this video basically is the first book that I will talk about because I really need to talk about it. The first book that I'm reading, which is Steven Erickson's Dead House Gate. And this book is the second in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. The first book is Gardens of the Moon. This is a 960 page long book. I'm now currently at 342-43. So I'll have to look at my notes for this, but I have a lot of complaining to do basically. So I just want to share a bit of context before this. I've just finished one of the best trilogies and books ever, which is the Fool trilogy. I finished Fool's Fate, and I loved it so much. And then immediately after, I started reading That House Gate. So this is also kind of influencing my thoughts about this book because Fool's Fate is just a superior book. Now, the other context that I need to mention, the first book, I had a pretty positive feelings about the first book, Gardens of the Moon, because everyone was like, "Oh, the first in the series, the Gardens of the Moon is really like the worst. It gets better after that. If you survive the first book, everything will be okay. Like, you will get so much returns after, so many returns, right?" And I was really prepared to hate the first book. So when I read it, I was like, oh, it's actually not bad. I actually have positive feelings, compared to what everyone else told me. I was like, okay, now I survived the first book. There was a lot of characters, there was a lot of world building. I didn't really like the prose, but everyone was like, yeah, it gets better. The thing I didn't really think about was that it gets better is a very subjective expression and a very vague expression. When I heard it gets better, I was like, okay, yeah, the prose gets better, the world building gets better, the character depth and complexity gets better, stuff like that. But that's actually not, how we as a subjective species look at things. Well, anyway, I will not go into that, but the point is, it did not get better. Dead House Gate is literally the same book as The Gardens of the Moon, only with different characters. It's literally the same in all other aspects. We have a lot of characters. I expected the first book to kind of present to us the characters, the main characters, and then every other book will be about one of those characters, right? As the main ones. But this Dead House Gate, again, has many characters, many perspectives, as the first book had, and they all sound the same. They all have the same dry type of humor. It took some time for me to realize how shallow actually the plot and the characters, the writing is, because there's so much world building. There's so much just foreign words thrown into this about geography and magics and warrants and this and that. It kind of, a reader fails to realize that this is actually not that complex or smart. It's actually pretty shallow, and there's so many things going on that we don't have the time to go into depth about any of them. The thing that I'm really annoyed right now about this book is it's a war book. There's a rebellion, there's a lot of dead people, and one of the most, like, on Goodreads at least, one of the most well-known sentence out of this book is something about children dying in war, and it's like, this is how basically the war is described in this book, in this very stereotypical way where everything I read, every emotion I reads as emotionally ingenuine. It reads as though someone was thinking, war, give me some war motives. And the author just put them into this book without giving me the satisfaction of this emotional honesty or something that would kind of, resonate. I think this is very shallow, a very shallow book. The descriptions and the prose is so bad. Well, it's not so bad. I will remove the so. It's bad. It's bad because again, it's not detailed. I just don't have the picture, the images in my mind of the landscapes, of the people. The descriptions, they are very scarce. But even when they are in the book, they're just very abstract. I don't know how else to put it. The other thing that I'm really annoyed with the writing style and the prose is that there's a lot of sentences here that kind of are written as though they're really deep, when in reality they're actually very stereotypical and seen before. So it's like this book is made out of all of the deep sentences without the context to make them deep. You know what I mean? Because the portrayal of war is so stereotypical. The characters are all the same and very stereotypical, and then we have the stereotypical writing and everything, when you connect everything, there's nothing for me here that would delight me. Another thing I have problem with is the plot. The plot is like an anticlimactic flatline because there's so many things the author intentionally does not tell us, so we're just going, and then the small beep, the small spike is everything at once. So this is the twist because this and this, but I did not know about this and this because he just told us about this and this at the moment of the twist. And this is why the twist does not work for me. It's anticlimactic because I'm not awed emotionally. I'm not invested because I just couldn't be. The author does not let me to be emotionally invested. I will finish it. I will finish it and review it properly, probably. But for now, this is how I'm feeling. Like, it's so unremarkable, I can't even. I want to know more. I want this book to focus on like one or two characters or just on this one perspective and give us more depth. Give us some kind of sense of progression. Not just they go here, they do this. They go there, they do this. There's no connection, there's no causality. And then we get somewhere, something is being done or something happens, and then we find out about the causality or things that led to that. But as we were going there and doing this, we the readers are kept in the dark, so it's just like, okay, so this is happening, I guess, let's just read on, okay. And then the twist, the small spike in the flat line is this reveal of what things mean, and it's like, oh, so this means that and this means that. That doesn't change the fact that this book is very shallow. This point is masked expertly by all of the world building, but I'm not really engaging. So I'll give you an example of the writing style, so maybe you will like it. But I think a lot of people is pushing themselves to read these books, not wanting to be, I don't know, the one who don't get it. And it's like, it's not whether you get it or not, it's whether you're willing to remember all of these details, which in and of themselves are just something invented and superficial. There's no, it's not a book of ideas, it's a book of more stuff, more sparkly stuff. But anyway, all characters sound this way. These were hard men, harder than he could fathom. They'd taken the grim black humor of the soldier further than he thought possible, cold as the sunless core of a glacier. Bloody-minded confidence. Or fatalism. Never knew Fenner's bristles could be so black. Everything is written in this way. Abstract and not really telling you anything. The voice of this book is very stereotypically like soldier. How would Hollywood movie want to portray a soldier? A movie that's trying to not be Hollywood but ends up being Hollywood all the same. These are my thoughts about Dead House Gates, and now we're going on to the other book that I'm currently reading. The other book I'm currently reading is Outlawed by Anna North. It's a book set in the 1894. It's about this woman who can't conceive, so she becomes an outlaw because in her community, women who are barren are basically witches, and they're executed, blah blah. So she runs away, becomes an outlaw, finds this small community of other women who have similar experiences, and they all decided to be outlaws basically and rob people and survive and be far away from all of the men slash stupid people who want them dead. This is a short book. I'm now at around 60% of it. I like the writing. It's like, I would say it's attempting to be a literary historical fiction. I don't know how literary it is. Like, I've seen better prose, but this is very adequate. Besides which, I like the main character. Her mother was a what do you call this? She was a woman who helped other women birth children, and this our main character Ada was helping her. And so she's a kind of a doctor. She wants to know why she can't conceive and stuff like that. She's very inquisitive. And then we have this community of other women, of course, and there's this person, the kid, a non-binary person, and they are leading this community basically. The kid is awesome. The kid is like they act as a messiah basically to all of the other women. They are a leader of this community and they like to quote the Bible and stuff like that. And I don't know. I keep falling for that stereotype of a character, you know, a character who leads, a character who quotes random Bible passages, a character who has a vision, who no one else understands, and stuff like that. I love it. We're already 60% in, so I don't think there will be a love story between Ada and the kid, although I was so wishing there would be. Why I like this book? I really like it. And I like it because I'm really in the mood for these like 19th century, end of the 19th century history, especially America, especially like South America. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why. I've just read Doc and Epitaph by M.D. Russell, which I love. You know, Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp. So I'm all up in that. And I've recently watched, well, not recently, like 2 months ago, I watched Tombstone and Once Upon a Time in the West, I think it's called. So Odd Lot just came perfectly because we have female characters in this period, and yeah, it's not really realistic. I wouldn't call it realistic as such, but it's fun to read. The next book that I'm currently reading, although I've kind of put it on the side, is The Curse of Chalian by Louis McMaster Bujold. I don't know if this is how you pronounce it, but anyway, this book is a fantasy trilogy. This is the first in the trilogy, and the reason I decided to pick it up is because I saw it at Ada Palmer's Goodreads, and she wrote To Like Lightning, my favorite book ever. So I was like, yeah, everything that she likes, I will be reading, and this is one of the books. I'm at around 20%, I would say. It's about this guy who has been betrayed. He was like a minor noble or something, and he's been betrayed and like put into slavery and stuff like that. And now it's like many years later. He's around 35, I'd say, and he's back in the kingdom. And it's a revenge story. And I love revenge stories. However, when I started to read this, I realized that this guy has no idea that he's been betrayed. I keep hoping that maybe he has like a plan and he acts like he doesn't know anything, but inside he's like, I've come here to get my revenge and stuff like that. I'm not sure. But for now, I just expected him to be like Count of Monte Cristo or something, which he isn't. So the prose is adequate. I have nothing to say against the prose. I'm not like awed by it, but I'm not the opposite of odd. The characters are fine. So yeah, there's nothing much to say because I've just started to read this book, but I will finish it one day. If you've read it, please tell me what you thought about this whole revenge plot without spoilers, because I just love revenge books. Okay, now the last two books I'm not sure about. I've started reading them both, and I'm still kind of deciding whether to finish them or not. The first one is The Women of Copper Country by Mary Doria Russell. She wrote Doc, Epithet, The Sparrow, Children of God. Like, she's one of my favorite authors as of this year, so I was like, I want to read everything that she's written. This book is set in the, like 19th century, and I'm very into 19th century currently, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read it. This book is about Anna, a Slovenian girl, and her husband. He's a miner. Whole community, like all of the men are miners, and it's very dangerous, and they don't have their rights. And so it's about Anna and her group of women who will lead this community into rebelling against the rich men who exploit these settlers from Europe. When I was reading the summary, I was like, yeah, okay, I mean, this Anna is Slovenian and I live in Slovenia, and there's some mention of Croats as well, and I'm Croatian, so fine. I started reading it, I'm at around 20%, and I'm just bored, to be honest. The writing is there, like the narration, Russell really knows how to present a story. The problem is, this story that she's chosen is just boring. I'm just not connecting with it, so I've kind of put it on the side. I'm still not certain I want to mark it as abandoned on Goodreads, because once I put it there, it's the law, man. So I'm kind of thinking about the continuing or discontinuing. I don't know. The other book that's kind of also in this precarious position is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. In this case, I've read like the first 2 or 3 chapters. I've just tried it, and I thought the prose was fine. I just could not connect with the main character. The first chapter started out very promising about some kind of ritual where this boy's eyes were like shut with a needle or something, and I was like, yeah, wow, that sounds interesting. And then we have this other perspective of this woman who ended up in jail, and she's very free spirited in a way that just does not appeal to me in my characters. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about giving it at least like 3 to 5 more chapters to decide. So if you've read this book, please tell me if I should continue or not. These are the books that I wanted to speak about. Tell me if you've read any of them and whether I should continue or not with the ones that I'm thinking of discontinuing. Anyway, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in my next video.